What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 18th episode of the Coughy Show. My name is Mike, and I have Eric with me.
What's up?
So for new stuff this week, we got some new disposable CBD vape pens that are 150 milligrams, and they're $19.99,
Yep.
$20. 5 different flavors.
Yeah, 5.
Come try out some new cheap CBD. We will be closed on Christmas Day. We'll be open Christmas Eve, though. Let's see. So jumping into news here from New York Times, it looks like hemp producers have finally been cleared to work with banks because, like they say right now, the number of banks in the United States willing to lend to hemp producers can be counted on one hand. Banks will no longer have to treat their hemp customers as suspicious and run reams of paperwork to anti-money laundering authorities for each interaction. It's crazy that it's federally legal and you still gotta jump through these retarded loopholes. Why do we need to be figuring out what does hemp have to do with money laundering?
And I didn't realize it was that hard for banking for hemp. I mean, I knew obviously it was a challenge, especially with merchant credit services, we've always seen. But I didn't realize the number was that low of people that would finance it.
There's insane. Not. I mean, there's only I don't know about a handful, but there's a small amount of big giant banks, and then everybody else just kind of piggybacks off of them.
It's as greedy as banks are, I find that hard to believe that they wouldn't do it. All they care about is making money for themselves.
Right. Shit, especially Wells Fargo.
Right.
And Bank of America.
Two of the biggest ones. Chase, damn, you don't care about people, you just care about making your own money.
Right. Okay, so you guys are cool laundering money for the cartel, but you're going to be worried about hemp.
Right.
Let's see. While the change will help businesses making clothes and other hemp products, it does not affect the legal marijuana business dealing with the same problems. The federal government still considers marijuana to be illegal, and even local banks have been too worried about getting in trouble to deal with them. Yeah, those guys still got to deal with piles of money. But it's funny because they won't let them do any kind of banking, but they still want their tax money and everything, so these guys got to fucking go hand them $100,000 in cash.
I'd pay them in ones.
Taxes. Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people who just fuck with them.
I'd give them all ones. That's it. Nothing else. I'd be scared, though. I mean, if you're making that much money off legal marijuana, I wouldn't want to put it in a bank. I wouldn't trust them. Right. One day you just wake up and your accounts are empty.
Yeah, I've heard that story too many times, even with CBD businesses.
Yeah, hide that shit in your mattress then.
So let's see. Still, it wasn't clear on Tuesday that the change to hemp regulations would immediately influence bankers' attitudes. Bankers will still have to study up on the complicated licensing requirements that states and the agricultural department have devised for hemp growers. So, progress, but we still got a little waiting to do.
Eventually. It's just little steps. Little steps, it'll make its way there.
So our next article is from CBS out of New York. We've touched on this one a few times. We actually spoke about it again last week. But was it a few months ago now?
Yeah, it was in the summer, I believe.
These brothers at this CBD company in Brooklyn had a shipment coming from a farm for 106 pounds through FedEx. The cops seized it, did their cool little cop pose picture with all the drugs.
Said it was worth $1 million.
Yeah, it's worth $1 million, and they prevented some hardcore stuff from getting onto their streets. So prosecutors have decided to drop those charges. But the Brooklyn DA says they still have a decision on whether or not to return the hemp. The DA is not making that decision. The NYPD and the State Department of Agriculture are making that decision, which I don't know what decision do they have to make. If you see somebody's product and it's a legal product, what logic would there be to not give it back to them?
Right, this isn't a dictatorship. It's not the Holocaust. You can't just take.
Not the Holocaust.
You can't just take things from people.
That's a good sharp term.
You can't just take things from people because you don't like who they are or what they do. You can't just be oh, this is ours now. That's theft. Like I said last week, they need to sue. They need to find some big lawyer that's going to take their case on. I would sue the state. I'd want a cool $2.5 million a piece. Pain and suffering.
Pain and suffering.
Emotional distress.
Definitely emotional distress because, I mean, these guys are on the brink of losing their business.
Yeah, that when what happens, you lose your business, your home, your kids can't go to college. Not fair. I'd start like a crazy one like all these people do. Like, I want 20 million and then settle for like a cool 2.5. Nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy. So let's see. Moving on here. This is a article from NBC News touching on the vape crisis again. So it turns out the CDC has now actually gave this lung disease a name called EVALI, EVALI. So new evidence is showing that legitimate THC vaping products are also making people sick, meaning that illegal off-brand vapes aren't the only products to blame for the current outbreak of vaping-related illnesses. The Massachusetts Department of Public Health reports that at least 6 patients suspected of having the vaping lung illness purchased THC products at licensed marijuana dispensaries in that state. And this isn't actually the first report that we've seen of that. There was, back at the beginning of this vape crisis, there was a dispensary in Oregon that had the same issue, and good old MedMen in Colorado actually had that same issue, and it wasn't until like it was a month into the vape crisis that MedMen said, hey, we have some bad products too, we're going to pull those from the shelves.
Sorry.
Yeah, our bad.
But we're not going to give your money back.
Yeah. So, a quote here says, it's been a real failure of public policy that we have this message that if it's bought in a store, it's going to be safe. This is from Kevin Sabat, president of Smart Approaches to Marijuana, a nonprofit organization that opposes the legalization of marijuana. People really do have that connotation that just because it's from a dispensary, A, it's a more potent product for some reason, and B, they're not going to get sick from it. But a lot of dispensaries, transition from the black market. Like, these guys are still hustlers at heart. They're just trying to make money. So they're going to slip in some bullshit here and there. I'm sure there's the majority of them out there that are more concerned about giving people a good product and worrying about public safety and stuff. But there's going to be that small batch out there that are still just
trash.
Just trash, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people shouldn't be surprised. Look at how many times last year did Chipotle give people E. coli, and then we've got, what was it, Fresh Time, where people allegedly got, HPV from it.
I'm not HPV?
Something, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that it was not HPV.
Some weird disease from organic fruit, so I don't eat organic shit. I was going to say,
this is why we don't eat healthy.
Eating healthy is one thing. Organic, nah. I want them pesticides to kill whatever. Or was it hepatitis? I think it was hepatitis.
It's hepatitis A.
Some nasty disease they got from blueberries. No idea what, but just because you buy it at the store doesn't make it any fucking better.
It does not. So they go on to say that still bootleg vapes do appear to be behind the majority of the vaping-related crisis nationwide. On Friday, the CDC reported that 80% of the hospitalized patients with EVALI, or e-cigarette, or vaping product use associated lung injury. So that's a weird abbreviation, but whatever, government acronyms.
Yeah, for real.
Had used the THC product. By far the most common product was a counterfeit brand called Dank Vapes, used by 56% of patients.
Big surprise there.
Right. I remember seeing people with those Dank Vapes all throughout last year, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, that was the big one. Mario Kart was a big one last year.
Mario Karts, exotic carts.
Smart carts. That was a big one that was fake.
Yeah.
What were the other two? The Supreme and Off-White.
Oh yeah, Supreme, of course.
Come on,
Supreme makes clothing.
Nike's not going to sell you weed. Neither is Supreme.
Now that you say that, I'm surprised that nobody made a Nike one.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Or Jordan.
Yeah.
Jumpman carts.
You fucking hell.
All right.
If somebody comes up with that idea, we want to cut 10%.
Right, you owe.
You're welcome.
So the last point here is, since the EVALI outbreak began, a variety of investigations into the illness have pointed to multiple problematic ingredients such as vitamin E acetate used as a carrier oil, or toxic metals leached from the devices into the e-liquids. So, I mean, you feel like you get a good, solid metal cartridge and
it's lead.
A glass. Yeah, and it turns out that it's worse for you than smoking the damn plastic.
Yeah.
And nobody had these problems when we were smoking plastic cartridges.
Exactly. It's all that lead.
Oh, shit.
Comes from overseas. It's cheap. It's how it works.
Right. Moving on here, this article is from herb.co. Phoenix police forced a man to eat weed. So back in September of 2016, Edgar Castro, then 19, was pulled over for speeding. Officers found a small amount of marijuana in his vehicle. They demanded he eat the weed to avoid being arrested and taken to jail.
A gram. Like, you couldn't just crush it up on the ground.
I mean, every other cop in the damn world. I mean, and unless it was Iowa 2 years ago. They're going to run you through the ringer. But, I mean, most places you get caught with something small like that. I mean, even up to like an eighth or a quarter, they're just going to like throw it out on the curb or throw it into the sewer or something, yeah. So Castro, handcuffed in the back of the police cruiser, ate about a gram of cannabis. As officers searched his car, he reported getting sick as a result. I'm not sure why he would get sick from it, or if he's just, trying to get a paycheck. Because, I mean, people eat. That's actually a popular thing right now, is like with the juicing world and stuff, is they're just juicing raw cannabis. So they're not smoking it, they're not decarbing it like you would need to do to make edibles or anything. They're just eating it raw.
Unless it was shit weed, or you never know if it was really stemmy too. I wouldn't want to eat a twig from the stem.
But again, I'm not sure how that would make you sick.
Maybe he just has PTSD. I fully support it. Good for you, Edgar. I hope you enjoy that $100,000. It'll buy you a lot of pot. You'll be able to smoke good for the next couple of years with the $100,000.
Man, 100? Oh yeah, I guess so.
He only had a gram of weed with him. It's not like he smoked like he's not Willie Nelson out here.
Right.
He might be for the next 6 months with that $100K once he deposits it in the bank, but still, good for you. You're doing amazing, sweetie, because that's the content we like to see.
Right. So when Castro asked if he asked for his phone so he could record the incident, Officer McFadden reportedly told Castro if he grabbed his phone, he'd be shot. Castro was unarmed at the time, obviously.
Of course, most of the time they are.
And then his Castro's quote here says, "The officers who violated me did it because they felt that they could. They felt like their uniforms made it okay for them to be racist bullies and treat me like a second-class citizen. There should be systems in place to make sure these sick individuals never carry a badge or a gun again." I'm going to look into this a little bit more because I am curious. I'd really be surprised if these guys even ended up losing their gun or their badge, because we've seen cops do much, much, much worse and somehow still keep their jobs. Let's see, our last article here is from Fox Business. Dollar General is jumping into the CBD game. So on Tuesday, Dollar General announced the availability of 20 CBD products at about 1,100 of its more than 16,000 stores in Tennessee and Kentucky. The variety store also plans to expand the availability of CBD products to Colorado, Florida, Indiana, Oregon, South Carolina, Texas, and Vermont by 2020. I wonder how they come up with what areas they're going to launch in.
Yeah, I wonder if they're like Gallup polling people, or if that's where like big hits are, or if you're going to a specific clientele that that's who shops there. I think of it like where are they starting? You said it was Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and then they want to move to like Colorado. Obviously, people are gonna want it, especially Colorado, because it has a big portion of it is low income, so they think, oh, we'll get it cheap for the people that can't spend a ton of money. Florida, you get all your what do they call them, winter birds and older people. Oregon, same thing. Texas.
But see, I could see like launching in Oregon, not making it a secondary. I'm sorry, not Oregon, Florida.
Yeah. And then you got to think like Texas too. That's another big one. But again, like we said, just because you buy it out of the store doesn't mean it's safe. Do your homework.
Right. I mean, I don't know where they're sourcing their CBD from, but personally would not buy my CBD from a Dollar General.
No, I wouldn't either. I'd be curious to see what brands they're going to get. I'm guessing probably like Creating Better Days, Green Creek, some of those ones.
Yeah.
But then also it's like, it's the same, we've talked about it before with them, popping up in like grocery stores, and we obviously don't tell you what it's going to do or how much to take or how to take it, but you have to have some sort of education to sell it to people, because they're not going to know, what am I looking for?
Right.
What's the best for, if I'm going for my wrist hurts, a topical as opposed to gummies, there's just a lot of...
Yeah, these people aren't going to be able to offer him any kind of guidance.
No, I mean, shit, you go to a Dollar General and you maybe find 2 employees in the whole store.
And they do not want to talk to you.
No. Yeah, do your homework, because I'd be curious to see what brand actually pops up.
So they say that they're going to sell products including oils, creams, bath bombs, bath salts, and face masks. And that these products would range from $7 to $20. So they're definitely hitting that low end market, but that makes me question the how good the product is.
Yeah, I could see the quality being pretty small, and I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't imagine that for the price point that they would price it at. How are you gonna, how are you gonna have any quality? You're not gonna have anything that's higher than maybe $20. If it's $20, at a cost, their wholesale's got to be nothing,
Right.
Dirt cheap.
Especially, I mean, I can't imagine that they pay much for any of their products. It's a dollar store. All right, guys. That's all we got this week. We'll catch you next week.
Have a good one.